Japan and Austria are the latest countries to suspend funding to the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency over allegations 12 staff were involved in the October 7th Hamas attack. Canada, the United States, Germany, and Britain are among several countries who have already pulled funding. UNRWA is now warning it may not be able to continue operations beyond February if support is not restored. Joining me now to discuss is Michael Bociurkiw, Global Affairs Analyst and former spokesperson of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Hello there, Michael. Good to see you. It's been too long. I want to begin by asking you about Austria. It's the latest country now announcing that they will halt funding for Palestinian aid to UNRWA. Let's get your reaction. Let's begin there.
Sure. Good to be with you, Marcy. Well, yeah, another European country joining the growing list. I think we're up to 12 or 13 now who have suspended funding, including Canada. Now, these are not big league countries in terms of donations to UNRWA. Canada, for example, I think is around 23.7 million in 2022. But if you add up the United States, UK, and all the other countries, there's a huge gap in funding for UNRWA, which, by the way, has traditionally been cash-starved and underfunded. And now with the dire conditions in the Gaza Strip, it's just horrendous timing for them and for the people.
How will this impact people who desperately rely on this key agency that distributes funding in all sorts of ways?
Hugely. If you think about it, you were talking about the population of the size of Edmonton of people who depend on UNRWA services in the Gaza Strip itself. Hospitals, schools, psychosocial centers, sanitation, road clearing. Basically, it's a municipal government there. And, you know, with a big percentage of the Gaza Strip population on the verge of starvation, this is not something that other UN agencies, like I used to work for UNICEF there, can come in and fill the gap. So I think an interim solution needs to be found while the investigation runs its course. But this is, again, very, very bad timing for everybody.
The New York Times is reporting that one of the 12 faces accusations of kidnapping a woman. Another is alleged to have taken part on an attack on a kibbutz that left 97 people dead. How serious do you think that the allegations would have to be in order for the U.S. and other countries to suspend and freeze funding?
Well, absolutely huge. I mean, these are allies, after all, of Israel, especially the United States. And, you know, Marcy, in fact, it's been a while that the politicians in the Israeli parliament have actually been advocating for UNRWA to just disappear. They don't like UNRWA. They don't like a lot of UN agencies. When I was with UNICEF, we had a very tough time with access. So I think, and I should also add that I don't think they've done a very good job in terms of defending themselves, you know, issuing statements. What's needed right now, I would think, for the UN, get a former UN Secretary General or a former Canadian Prime Minister, if need be, to act as an envoy. Look at these investigations and come out as soon as possible with findings that will resonate, or rather that donors can understand and believe.
Do you think that this freezing of funds is temporary?
I think we'll see different reactions. For example, Italy, where support for Palestinians is very, very high, will likely reconsider. And I think Canada will have another look at it. But look, the other thing we have to think about is November and the U.S. elections is not that far away. I think one of the first acts of a Trump administration, God forbid, but I think one of their first acts would be to cut completely funding to UNRWA and maybe even other agencies that are active in the Gaza Strip, such as WHO. So it's a very, very difficult time for the UN system as a whole right now.
Michael Bociurkiw is a global affairs analyst. Michael, thanks again.